Welcome to this explainer. I'm so incredibly thrilled you're here with us today. Look, we're going to tackle a universal financial desire that is pretty much top of mind for everyone in 2026, and that is chasing yields. Whether you're managing a massive corporate treasury or, just trying to outpace inflation with your own personal savings, you have absolutely seen those wild, eye-popping double-digit returns promised by the crypto market, but how much of that is real and how much is just a mirage? Today, we are breaking down the actual mechanics of crypto staking, we're comparing it right up against traditional financial yields, and we're uncovering what is actually happening to your money behind the scenes.
Okay, so let's just quickly look at our roadmap for today. We've got 6 clear checkpoints. We'll start with chasing yields in 2026, then explain proof of stake. After that, we'll dive into the reality of APY, cover slashing and lockup risks, talk about how to choose a validator, and finally get into crypto staking taxes. So we've got a lot of ground to cover. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. Chasing yields in 2026, traditional versus crypto. To really grasp the massive appeal of crypto staking, we've got to ground ourselves first in the traditional, safe financial landscape.
4.10%. According to recent bank rate data for May 2026, this number right here represents the absolute top-end annual percentage yield for a traditional one-year certificate of deposit. This is basically your benchmark for safety, right? It's guaranteed yield, it is FDIC insured, and you know the exact amount you're getting at the end of that 12-month term. It's totally predictable. But let's be honest, it's definitely not going to make you rich overnight.
Now contrast that absolute safety with 19%. This is the raw APY recently advertised for staking crypto assets like Cosmos, also known as ATOM. When you see 4.10% sitting in a traditional bank versus a whopping 19% in the crypto ecosystem, the logical, immediate question you have to ask is, what exactly is the catch? Why on earth is the premium so astronomically high?
Well, this perfectly illustrates the risk matrix we're operating in. On the traditional banking side, you're getting safety and liquidity. The bank is the one taking on the operational risk. But over in crypto land, you get that high advertised APY, sure, but you are the one absorbing extreme price volatility and some really complex technical risks that literally just do not exist in traditional finance.
Which brings us to Section 2, Proof of Stake, how it works. Because to truly understand the catch, we have to look under the hood at the technological engine generating these massive rewards. Like, where is this money even coming from?
To make sense of it, let's just quickly compare it to the original crypto model. Proof of work, which is what Bitcoin uses, is super energy intensive. It relies on competitive mining with those massive humming server farms. Proof of stake, on the other hand, which modern networks like Ethereum and Solana use, is completely different. It's highly efficient because it relies on financial collateral instead of electricity. Participants lock up their own money to secure the network, and the system chooses who gets to process transactions by chance, weighted heavily by how much collateral they've actually put on the line. So the absolutely crucial thing to understand here is the role of the validator. Validators are basically the backbone of the network. They replace all that brute force computing of the old mining days with economic alignment. Essentially, they put up a massive security deposit, like the 32 ETH required on Ethereum, and in exchange, the network pays them newly minted tokens and transaction fees for honestly doing their job. And hey, if you don't want to run all that complex hardware yourself, you can actually just delegate your tokens to a validator and share in their rewards.
Moving on to Section 3, the reality of APY. What is the real yield? Okay, we need a serious financial reality check right now, because the headline number you see is almost never the whole story.
You really need to consider this warning from our sources. If that token loses 30% of its value while your funds are locked, a 15% APY doesn't save you. Remember, staking rewards are not paid out in US dollars. They're paid in the native token you're staking. You are completely 100% exposed to the underlying assets market crashes. Having 15% more of a token that just plummeted in value? Yeah, that still leaves you deep in the red. And here is the hidden trap. Network inflation actively eats your raw APY. Staking rewards don't just magically appear out of thin air, right? They're usually funded by minting brand new tokens. Let's look at Cosmos again. The raw advertised APY is a massive 19%. But the network is also inflating the total supply of tokens by about 14% just to pay those rewards. So to find your actual profit, your real increase in purchasing power, you've got to calculate the real yield. In this case, 19% minus 14% leaves you with a real yield of just 5%. Honestly, suddenly that traditional 4.10% CD doesn't look quite so boring, does it? Section 4. Slashing and lockup risks. Because beyond market volatility and inflation, we have to neutrally examine the very strict operational risks built straight into the blockchain code. Making a mistake here can literally cost you your principal investment. And this introduces a terrifying little concept called slashing. Slashing is an automated protocol mechanism where a portion of a validator's staked tokens is just permanently confiscated. Think of staking kind of like putting down a security deposit. If your validator submits contradictory claims to the network, the code automatically forces a forfeiture of your funds. Boom, gone. It's a completely unforgiving system, but it's designed that way to keep the network absolutely secure.
So what actually triggers this? Well, things like double-signing blocks or surround voting manipulations. That essentially means your validator is signing off on two conflicting versions of reality to cheat the system. Those are severe violations. But here's what you really need to know. While that sounds like some intense, malicious hacking, our sources note that many slashes actually just come from simple operator mistakes, a botched server migration, or extended network downtime because a piece of hardware failed. That can trigger a penalty. And if you delegated your tokens to a sloppy validator, well, their mistake costs you your tokens.
And adding significantly to all of this is the unbonding period. When you decide you want to stop staking, you don't just get your money back instantly. While networks like Cardano have 0 days of lockup, Cosmos requires 21 days, and Polkadot holds your funds for a full 28 days. Just imagine a scenario where the crypto market is crashing 40% overnight. If your assets are staking on Polkadot, they are locked in a digital vault for nearly a month before you can sell a single token. That is a massive, massive liquidity risk.
All right, Section 5, choosing a validator. If you accept the price volatility, you understand the real yield, and you're somehow okay with those long lockup periods, how do you actually protect your capital when you delegate your stake?
Well, here's a really solid due diligence process for you. First, always review their uptime history. You absolutely want a validator boasting over 99% uptime, so you don't get hit with inactivity penalties. Second, look closely at their commission fees. A 0% fee sounds awesome, but honestly, it might signal an unsustainable business or just a really inexperienced operator. Third, make sure they have institutional-grade security practices. And finally, please don't just dump your tokens into the largest pool out there. Spread your stake around to avoid highly centralized validators. It helps keep the whole blockchain healthy and decentralized.
Finally, Section 6, crypto staking taxes. We have to talk about the unavoidable and, frankly, pretty messy reality of reporting your crypto staking gains to the government.
Okay, here is the golden rule for U.S. taxpayers. The absolute moment new value hits your wallet, whether you sell it for cash or not, it counts as taxable income based on its fair market value on that exact day. Then, later on, if you actually sell it, you'll need to file Form 8949 and Schedule D to report the capital gains or losses. And because the IRS audit window is notoriously long, you are required to keep meticulous transaction records across all your different wallets for at least 3 years. You definitely want to avoid these incredibly common traps. The biggest mistake is just assuming you don't owe any taxes until you cash out to normal fiat currency. That is completely false. Another major pitfall, ignoring auto-compounded yields. Even if a protocol like Lido or Rocket Pool automatically reinvests your rewards and you never once click claim, those are still taxable events. Plus, using inaccurate daily averages instead of the exact time-stamped value of the token when you received it can trigger some major red flags in an audit. So, knowing about how network inflation silently eats away at your returns, understanding the sheer terror of a 28-day lockup during a sudden market crash, recognizing the technical threat of your validator getting slashed, and facing down those rigorous tax burdens, well, you now have the structured facts. So you really have to ask yourself, when you look past that flashy 19% headline, is the 5% real yield of crypto staking truly worth the real risks when compared to traditional finance? It's a vital question, and honestly, it's one only you can answer for your own portfolio. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.